made to you so special? Nothing. I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Okay, guys, Frank Stout, just a guy from Brooklyn. It's time to review the new Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I got a lot to say about this movie, and let's get to it. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's in my top 10. Its two direct sequels are like movies that just give me a ton of nostalgia. They're so fun. You know, I could watch any of them at the drop of a dime. This one is a legacy sequel. But they kind of already did a legacy sequel back in 2008 with Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I really felt like Harrison Ford was too old for that one.
Well, sometimes I give small children the middle finger and don't realize I'm doing it until someone slaps me. So I really am going senile.
So I went in with very, very low expectations for this. Despite hearing about how they're gonna like use technology to kind of make them younger and all that, but I didn't go in, expecting much. Let's rewind a little bit. When Disney had acquired Lucasfilm and they wanted to make new Star Wars movies, they really wanted Harrison Ford to come back to play Han Solo. And they would have done anything to get him to play that role. And just so you know, Harrison Ford was done with Han Solo like decades ago. He wanted them to kill him off in Empire Strikes Back. So he kind of used the old, well, I'll come back as Han Solo, but you got to give me one more Indiana Jones movie. At the end of the day, he got what he wanted. As always with my reviews, I want to give you the good, the bad, and the in between. So let's start with the good. Technology. I mean, the best thing about this movie is how far we've come with this CGI technology. I mean, we can literally not just de-age a character, de-age an actor. We can actually de-age them and use them in like live action and action sequences. And who knows where that's gonna, jump off to. We've seen examples of like this with Marvel and what they did with Samuel Jackson recently and what they're doing now. But this is really taking it to a whole other level. I'm not 100% sure how they did it. Did they use like a body double and then like CGI Harrison Ford's face on it? I'm totally in the dark on that. But they did a really good job. Like I really searched for the first like half hour, 40 minutes of this movie to try to see if I could catch any kind of, oh, that looks off. And I only seen the movie once, but I couldn't find much. There was very little to really kind of clue me off that this was not like really him. And the interesting part is that he's 80 years old, as I've mentioned, but they took off like 10 years off of him for most of the movie. He's basically a 70-year-old man in this movie. But even better, they went and they did like they put him in his Indiana Jones glory days of when he was younger and during that more like that trilogy time. And they had that for the first, like, I would say something like 20 minutes of the movie, the first like opening of the movie. That was really cool to see that. And that was the thing that I was most impressed with. And the next big thing would be Harrison Ford. And look, Harrison Ford knows what he's doing. He's a professional. He's been doing this for a really long time. But at 80 years old, you gotta give him some props. He brought his A game to this performance. He did the best with what they gave him. I thought his performance was really, really good. And on top of that, you get to see where this Indiana Jones character ends up, how his story ends. There's some nice little Easter eggs throughout the movie. some references to the older movies, a few cameos, which I would never spoil. And, all that just gave you kind of like that warm feeling. And finally, the fact that this is a period piece kind of setting, and I thought they did a really, really great job. This basically mainly took place in like 1969, which would make Indiana Jones an old man. 1969, New York, at the time where, we just had a man land on the moon. And so you see all that. And then me being from New York City, to see New York City, in that kind of setting, I thought it was gorgeous. I can't say I was born in '72, so I don't know if it was accurate, but it sure damn looked good to me. I was really impressed by all that. He even at one point goes into the subways, so you get to see the subways. Were they really that dirty back then? Even back then, I was like, really? Moving on to the bad, and the bad is, at least the biggest thing for me, is I really felt like deja vu. We've seen all this before. We've seen it done better. To make, to kind of mask Ford's age, they place him in a lot of situations where he, you know, was in like riding vehicles or riding horses. There were lots of race sequences and chase sequences. So the majority of the movie is that. It's like, the race or chase from plot point to plot point. On top of that, he was given a lot of help. They had him share duties with his goddaughter, who he nicknamed Wombat, and she's played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She was kind of a very peppy, lively character who kind of was the one who was getting him into all this type of trouble, as he's kind of an old man, doesn't really want to do this anymore. Personally, I thought she was annoying as fuck. They give us a short round, like from Temple of Doom kind of character of sorts, with Teddy, played by child actor Ethan Moore. This kid was really fun. He was a breath of fresh air. There is one point where he admits that he, has never flown a plane and doesn't know how to fly a plane. Of course, he ends up flying the plane because movie, right? Speaking of these chases and races to either acquire items to reach your next point to get the Dial of Destiny, or to get a piece of the Dial of Destiny, which is another artifact that, Indiana's trying to get. Either they literally like knew the bad guys were following them and coming to the same point where they're going to be, and they didn't prepare for that, or they led the bad guys straight to the damn thing. But again, movie, right? So, I guess it had to happen in that kind of way. And of course, it's 2023, so we have to have time travel again, right? They couldn't choose any other type of artifact. They had to choose one involving time travel. Look, I don't know what to say. We've seen this so many times recently, and I just was like, all right, we got time travel again. What's next? The Indiana Jones multiverse? And of course, the villains. Yup, there's Nazis again, because it's an Indiana Jones movie, and God forbid he not have Nazis in it. Okay, Temple of Doom didn't have Nazis in it. And you know what? Made it a better movie, because we've seen the Nazis already so many times. And now we're up to the in between. And I have mixed feelings about another iconic character from my childhood, put in this kind of dark, miserable setting. I've already seen Rocky Balboa get old, go broke. He's barely making ends meet with a restaurant. His wife is dead. He's got no friends. His son doesn't even want to be his friend. I saw Luke Skywalker abandon the galaxy. He tried to kill his nephew in his sleep, and he's hiding out in some planet drinking some weird alien blue milk and doesn't give a shit about anything. I get it. All these type of dark settings add drama, but these are characters that it'd be nice if they have a decent kind of ending. Kind of a can we get some sort of joyfulness? You know, do I really need to see, you know, a cranky old Indiana Jones complaining to his neighbors about making too much noise?
Fuck off.
So it's time to give this movie a score. And the score that I'm going to give it is a 5.6 out of 10. Hardcore fans of these movies, if you're desperate for another adventure and you don't care how you get it, then you're going to get something out of this. And I'll be honest, it is nowhere as bad as Crystal Skull. Is it anywhere near the original trilogy? I don't think so. Does it capture that magic that I mentioned before of that trilogy? I don't think so, but I do think that it has some Easter eggs and stuff, and it's very slick. It's very good looking. It's that, you know, Disney Kathleen Kennedy slick, beautiful type of production. I, for one, much like these artifacts that Indiana is always trying to get, there's always that question of maybe we shouldn't get it. Maybe it should be left alone. You know, I'm in that feeling where I feel like that original trilogy is like perfection. We don't need any more. I'm good with that. I didn't really need this. Is it good? Yeah, it's good. It's good enough, is what I'm hearing a lot of people say, and I probably would agree with that. If you are one of those hardcore fans, the theater experience is where it's at. You should go to a theater to see this. Everyone else, wait till it streams. And so, from the City That Never Sleeps, from the BK.
See my face in lights, on my name on marquees found down on Broadway. Even if it ain't all it seems, I got a pocket full of dreams, baby. I'm from New York.